So, I'm sick. I've got the tissues and the tea right here. Let's see if it's cooled down enough. It's actually the perfect temperature. I decided to get on camera today against my better judgment because I felt called to channel this message, or I was channeling this message. I was journaling earlier today and I hadn't journaled like all month pretty much, like since the 8th, and today's the 29th of October. And I've just been much more disconnected from my spiritual journey than I usually am. And obviously I go through like ebbs and flows of being connected or disconnected. And when I'm aligned or I feel aligned, I'm journaling, I'm meditating, I'm listening to affirmations, I'm going on walks. I hear myself talk and it's a lot more positive. Whereas when I don't feel aligned, it feels like I'm just like scrolling on my phone. I'm not journaling. I'm not meditating. I feel really sad. I'm not talking to myself well. I'm feeling like very depressed. I'm feeling like the world is out to get me, etc., etc. And lately, a lot of stuff has been going on in my life. And, I say this to say, I feel like a lot of people in the collective are going through a lot right now. Like, even when I talk to my friends, or even when they're telling me about situations that their other friends are going through, it seems like a lot of people are struggling right now. And so I came here to remind everybody the reason why we're here, other than to help raise Earth's consciousness. Because when I was journaling today and I was complaining and complaining, and I was like, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, and this is hard, and I'm sad, and I don't know. And at a certain point, I started feeling like I don't even know what direction I'm taking my life anymore. I don't even know what I'm doing. And it was giving like I'm feeling kind of lost. And then I was like, wait, the only thing I want to do, like I was writing this in my journal, the only thing I want to do is be happy. I want to have joy. I want to feel joyful. And I started thinking of like, if something doesn't feel like a full body yes, it really has to be a no. And that's one of the things that I'm really working on right now. I feel like I have a tendency to actually, should I take my glasses off? I feel I don't know if the camera's like reflecting on my glasses, but I feel like I have a tendency to do things that I don't necessarily want to do, or say yes to things that I don't want to, and then I regret it, and or even if I say no, then I feel really guilty, and then I hate feeling guilty. And I'm just coming to this place where it's like, I just want to feel happy. I just want to feel joyful. And even in my job right now, I just started working another job. So I literally have like 3 jobs right now, and I'm working in a cafe. And at first it felt like a little video game, like, ooh, I'm a barista making cute little coffees and giving people their drinks and their pastries and la 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 la. And the first 2 weeks I was working there, it was rainy as well. So it was like pretty slow. And then like it got hot for like some random weeks, and then it was like really busy. And then they started hiring new people, and then they started having me train these people even though I had only been there a month. And suddenly this job that felt like a cute little diner dash penguin diner whatever type of situation suddenly started to feel like work. And I started like getting on myself in my journal. I was like, it feels like I walk away from things too quickly, like as soon as things get hard. And I was like, well, that's not true, because I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, but I've found that I have walked away from certain things, and I'm like, okay, but I don't walk away from everything. I only walk away from some things. And I really started to question, like, what are these things that I'm walking away from? Is it really that I'm the type of person that's quick to walk away from things, or is it that I genuinely was not right for those situations, and I knew that to my core? And I feel like I'm trying to learn discernment in the way of knowing what's right for me, not just when it comes to people. Like, I feel like, especially when you meet somebody new, it's a bit easier sometimes. This is just my opinion. It's a bit easier sometimes to be like, red flag, red flag, red flag, no thanks. Like, I'm not vibing with this person. Versus, like, things that are already in your life and feeling like your discernment is growing while these people are in your life, or things or places, and you're so like, should I be going here? Should I be around these people? Should I be working there? Like, I don't know. And then I start feeling like, wait, like, am I questioning everything? Like, is everything wrong, or am I crazy? Am I just being a Sagittarius and trying to run away from everything? I don't know. But when I came to saying to myself, the main thing that I want to feel is joy. The main thing I want to feel is happiness. And it's not that like that's the ultimate goal. I think the ultimate goal is like to feel content. And I definitely do want to feel content. But when things are not bringing me joy, especially over extended period of time, it's like maybe that's not what's right for me. And when I think about all these careers that I'm juggling on top of doing social media, I was like, well, if social media and content creation and like helping people with their spiritual journeys is the main thing that I'm interested in, then everything else is a side quest. And I was like, why am I taking everything so seriously? I realized I was taking my life way too seriously. It's not, I think there are points in your life where you really do have to have discernment and remove things that are not healthy for you and not good for you. But I think sometimes you can get caught up in your spiritual journey and get so used to like eradicating certain things from your life that you start feeling like, oh, everything has to go. I have to start over. Everything is wrong. And maybe in a few months, I'll come back and eat my words and be like, actually, everything was wrong. I actually did need to change everything. But I'm starting to feel like I might just be being a bit hyper vigilant as someone who already has anxiety. I think that when you're so used to chaos and so used to things being wrong and so used to being blindsided, that you start looking for problems. And it's gotten to the point where I'm over analyzing every friendship, my relationship with my partner, my relationship with my family, my jobs, my coworkers. Like I'm over analyzing everything. Like my brain is literally a computer. And I think that you start to realize like in your spiritual journey, especially when you know like the difference between like your soul and your mind, or your heart and your mind, whatever, that there is a part of you that like once you become spiritual, your mind like starts to adapt to that. And when your mind starts to adapt to that, it starts looking for problems in new ways. I don't know if this is making sense, but it's making sense in my head, but also I'm sick, so I think it gets very easy to become hyper vigilant and start looking for problems in your life. And when in actuality, like things might just be a little bit uncomfortable or challenging. And these might just be things that you have to go through. Like life isn't always supposed to be like easy and fun. Although if you want it to be that way, it can be. But usually there's some steps in between to getting there. And, you know, I'm 25, like, and I'm turning 26 in December. So like, I might as well basically say I'm 26, but I'm gonna hold on to that 25 a little bit longer. I think that, you know, when you're so young, it's like everything is new. Every choice that I make, every job that I work, every experience that I have, every relationship, every friendship, everything is new. And, you know, even being a little neurospicy, you know, that whole pattern recognition thing, I start wondering like, is this actually a pattern, or am I looking for a pattern? Am I crazy? Like I think I've gotten to a place of being so afraid of being like hurt or blindsided or things blowing up in my face that I'm like, oh, let me get to it first. Let me cut to the chase. And that is toxic in its own way. And so I think spirit is calling me and some people, whoever comes across this video, to sit in some of the uncomfortability, to not be so hyper vigilant and over examining everything that's going on, but trust that God has you where you're supposed to be. Trust that you're where you need to be. And that if you need to move, you will feel the will to do so. And not from like an anxious place of needing to like change everything and eradicate everything, but like from a calm place of being like, this isn't serving me. Because I've left other jobs in the past, for example. And I feel like naturally I knew when their time was up. But when I'm sitting at a job and I'm starting to think, oh, should I leave? Should I leave? Should I leave? Should I leave? That's probably just my anxiety talking. Probably. And I'm not saying that there couldn't be some like nudge or whatever, but I think like we're being called to like really start to decipher between what is anxiety and what is intuition. And at least that's the journey that I feel like I'm on right now. I'm struggling with it. I don't think it's like an easy process, especially as someone who has anxiety, because it feels like something's always wrong. It feels like something always needs to be changed. But I'm trying to learn how to sit in what feels uncomfortable and wait and see. And, it kind of reminds me, this just came to me, in Avatar when like he was telling him he needed, Boomy was telling Aang he needed an earthbender who like waits and listens. I think that's what he said. And he ended up finding Toph, who was deaf, and she waits and she listens. I said deaf, blind. But the I hope this message is coming across correctly. The point is that he eventually found this person naturally, and I feel like Aang wasn't really like looking for something specifically. He knew he had this goal of like going against the Fire Lord. That was like his main goal. But he also knew before that he needed to master all four elements, and like in one summer. And yet somehow everything worked out for him. Even though he had been asleep for 100 years, he did in a couple of months what people can do in 100 years. And that kind of makes me think of like the other quotes that like you could work so hard for like a year, where somebody else could like work half as much as you and make the same amount of progress in like a month. Like that. And it's true. I don't think that everything is about like extreme hard work. I think that there are times where you need to work hard. There are times where things might be a little challenging. There are times where, you know, you are working towards something knowing that it's not necessarily where you want to be at, but you know that it's like on the path to where you need to go. And then I think there are other times where it's like, girl, you're wasting your time. Why are you sitting there? Why are you staying there? Like, you need to leave. You've been there for too long. You're getting too comfortable. And I think that's another thing. You'll also know, low key, if you feel comfortable in a place that's dysfunctional, that it's time to go. It's like, you weren't supposed to get comfortable there. It was actually supposed to be uncomfortable, so you left. I don't know. I'm not sure if everything I'm saying is making sense because, like I said, I'm sick and I feel like everything is coming to me in like weird waves of information. But I feel like the main thing that Spirit wanted me to get across is that you know what your main goal in life is. Be it that it's joy, or be it that it's some certain amount of money, be it that it's some place that you want to live, and you know what steps you need to take to get there. And if you truly believe that you're not taking the steps or you're not on the right path to where you need to be, you will feel it in your heart, in your body, in your soul. You will feel it every day. And not in an anxious way, but in a gentle nudging kind of way, like, something needs to change. And I think when you feel that gentle nudge, you're supposed to listen to it. And I know that it's hard because sometimes it's hard to leave situations that you're comfortable in. It's hard to leave places. It's hard to let go of security, whatever the case is. But if you're coming across this video, or you've been feeling this way, or you've been getting a similar message, then this is your sign that it's time to change something. Or it's your sign that you're being hyper vigilant and that you're actually fine where you're at and you actually need to learn how to relax and surrender and trust. I think I'm in a place of going down both paths at the same time, of trying to like find what my actual discernment is of what actually needs to stay and what actually needs to go, if things are right or not, versus the part of me that's hyper vigilant and has always been on go and always had things moving and shifting. And now I'm like starting to get to a stable and secure place, and I'm starting to feel like, oh, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. Is something wrong, or do I need to have more patience? Do I need to wait and see? Do I need to allow things to change? So if you're feeling a little bit lost, maybe just keep walking a little bit further, and maybe you'll see a sign that'll be like, oh, actually, I'm not lost. I remember this tree. I need to go left. Or, oh, I'm still lost. Maybe I should turn around. Or, I don't think there's a turnaround in the spiritual journey, but I think in general, you get what I mean, which is that you know what message in this video is here for you. You know whether you need to remove some things from your life, or whether you need to actually become calm and settle into your life and where it needs to be right now. Because I know in my life, for example, when it comes to certain people or jobs or whatever, sometimes God has a way of removing it for you. Sometimes God has a way of handling it. And so if you feel like you really don't know, give it up to God, because that's what I do all the time. And so you could say it with me right now. I'm giving it up to God. I don't know. I'm not sure. Universe, spirit, angels, ancestors, whomever, send me a sign or remove it for me or get me fired, whatever the case is. If I'm not meant to be there, if those people are not meant to be around me, if I'm meant to move, etc., you will make it happen. Because I can tell you from experience, for example, when I was deciding to leave California, because I moved from California and I moved back to Maryland. When I tell you the first place I stayed at, my first landlord passed away, and then her daughter took over the house and wanted to move in, so she kind of low-key kicked us out. And then we couldn't find a place to stay, so then we were subleasing until we found a place, and then we found a place at the very last second, and then the place ended up being like really horrible from the minute we moved in. Like I'm telling you, they were still painting, they were still cleaning on the day we moved in. And we moved in on the 6th, not even the 1st, because they said they needed time to prepare the house. And then we had problems with the leasing company the whole time we were there. And then the AC broke during a heat wave, and we literally had to fight so much to get them to pay for our hotel for us to have a place to stay. And then we got fleas there. And like when I tell you it, the list just goes on and on and on. There was also like a whole ant colony, and I stepped in a whole ant nest. That was disgusting. But again, I was having issues with my boss. I was having issues at work. Like I was running into problem after problem in my job because I was a scientist, and like it was seemed like every time I moved to the next step of my experiment, there was always another hiccup. And they kept trying to act like that was normal. And I'm not saying that sometimes that doesn't happen in science, but it just felt like so many things were blocking me. And my partner, her mother owns this house that we live in right now. And she was like, oh, actually, the person who's been renting out the house for the past 10 years just decided to leave. And it was like right when we were struggling with all these problems, right when I was trying to decide if I wanted to leave. And I was already kind of teetering on the side of leaving, but it just felt like very destined. And I always wanted to be like very close to nature, very close to the water. And we're like right by a forest. We're right by a river. Like this was planned. This was what I needed. And I ended up being able to get really involved in the community. And that was something that I had been wanting for a long time as well. I always wanted to work at a nonprofit. I ended up working at a nonprofit. Like, it felt very planned. Now, here I am sometime later, and now I'm having to reevaluate again. Not because I don't feel like everything was leading me to where I'm at now, it was. But now I'm kind of again in this phase of reevaluating. And I don't know, part of me feels like that's kind of what winter is for. Well, it's a hibernation period, it's also like this inward season to reassess, like, okay, do I like where my life is right now? What things do I want to change? And I feel like a lot of that change starts to come in the spring. And or at least the actions towards these movements, because I would say like when I started working at that nonprofit, for example, that happened in the spring. And I just like cold emailed them like, are y'all hiring? Like they didn't have any like posts or anything, and then I happened to get a job. And so I think like when something is meant to happen, like it's so easy, and it flows very easily. Now don't get me wrong, the move here was still hectic, but once I got here everything was easy. And so part of that was like disentangling from my previous leasing company, which I kind of posted a bit about my moving journey already previously on my channel. If you're interested in going back and watching those videos of when we were moving here, but I'm definitely glad to be here. But I think, like I said, like now that I've gotten to an almost calm place, like I'm like, and it's funny because I was getting to a calm place at the end of summer, because I was like, okay, like we're about to go into fall, like things are about to be chill, like I'm about to be on a more consistent routine, it's not going to be all la-di-da, because my partner is a teacher, so she also had summer off, so we were just doing a bunch of stuff during the summer. And so I'm just like, okay, now that summer's about to end, she's about to go back to work, like, or we're about to be on a more consistent schedule. And then, like, our whole lives blew up again with, like, losing a close friend. And it was just, like, and I don't mean in the death way. I mean, like, as in they left our life. And it was just kind of like, wow, like, shook up. And then a bunch of other things happened in our lives, and it shook things up, and it was just like, oh my God, everything. And now that those things have happened, it's been a couple of months, I'm like, oh, is there anything else that needs to go? Is there anything else that needs to change? But I think like there is a possibility, yes. But I think there's another part of me that's like just stressed and traumatized and triggered, and it's like, oh, if everything around me is crumbling, then like let me crumble everything else up and throw it in the fire and start over. I'm not afraid to start over. That's one of my things. Like, it's funny that for me, one of my spirit animals is the butterfly and the dragonfly, because they both undergo these transformations. And I feel like I'm constantly undergoing transformations, like constantly. But similar to like even having a phoenix as your spirit animal, like you're gonna rise from the ashes. And I think that after having burnt so many things down, and especially as a fire sign, I've risen from the ashes so many times, and my life has been better every single time after. And so I think that's why I'm like, okay, does anything else need to be burnt down? Because I'll start over. I'm not afraid to start over. I am afraid to burn things down. Does that make sense? Because I don't want to burn down the wrong things. And that's where the discernment comes back in. I'm like, I'm not trying to get rid of everything. I don't want to get rid of the wrong things. Like, am I making the right choices? Is this good? Is this good? But I feel like once I decide to burn it down, it's gone. It's over. It's ashes. And I'm rising from it. So, God, I'm speaking to spirit right now. If anything needs to go, let me know. And I mean clearly, because I'm not trying to feel anxious about it. And I hope that for you all as well, that you get the help that you need, that you figure out what it is that you need exactly, because at the end of the day, I want to live a joyous, peaceful, happy life, continuing to make content and continuing to grow my digital community. And everything else outside of that is a side quest. It's a side mission that I decided to take on myself. I don't have to work at these jobs. I mean, I do, but I don't. I could work somewhere else if I wanted to. And so just keep that in mind, that you're not stuck in your situation. If anything, it's a matter of deciding what you want to keep around. So I hope you enjoyed this video. That's really all I have to say. I made this hat. I've got a few other hats like it. If you liked it, I usually put all my social media in the bio anyway. You can follow my art account. I post a bunch of my art and crochet stuff. But yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I hope if you're sick that you feel better or start to heal, and I hope that if you're not sick that you stay healthy, please. Yes, bye.